Hi everyone, it's Coach Fred here, and I'm going to be going over a proof in which you're trying to prove that some point C is the midpoint of segment BD. So we're trying to prove that in this segment, this point right here is the midpoint. So remember, I always say that the most important thing you start with is that you always mark your diagram with what you're given. So I'm going to start there because it says B is the midpoint of AC. So if B is the midpoint of AC, then I know that AB and BC are congruent. And every statement or every mark you put on your diagram, there has to be a statement in your proof. I'm also told that AB is congruent to CD. So we now see visually that all of these pieces are congruent. And if BC is congruent to CD, then C is the midpoint. But you have to actually sequentially go in order. So in order for me to say that C is the midpoint of BD, there has to be a statement. I call that my goal. There has to be a statement that says segment BC is congruent to segment CD. All right, so that's kind of where I'm going to start. Now, I always want to start with my given. Each given is going to give me some information. The way you do your givens is different based on the teacher, but it's not wrong. So I usually split up my givens. Okay, so I'm going to start with B is the midpoint of AC. So that's my given, right? That statement allowed me to make marks on my diagram. If this were the if, the then that could come from it would be that AB, segment AB, is congruent to segment BC. And the reason would be the definition of a midpoint. So every time I see B is the midpoint of AC, I'm going to be making a congruent statement, and it's always going to be definition of a midpoint. Okay, so I have that piece. Now I'm going to move on to the second given. So I've taken care of that. So I'm going to switch colors here, and I'm going to go to number 3. So AB is congruent to CD. Well, that was given. Now remember, we said our goal was that BC is congruent to CD, and it looks like you can connect these two because of AB. So my next statement, I'm allowed to say that BC is congruent to CD by transitive. So I've reached my goal. So now I can say, this was my goal. So once I've reached that goal, I'm allowed to make the final statement that C is the midpoint of BD. And that would be definition of a midpoint. Now remember, all definitions, their statement, their conditional, and their converse are both true. And the reason would be, the same reason, definition of a midpoint. All right, hopefully that was a helpful video. Have a great day.